Hi everybody, welcome to Coaches Co-Creating again. We're back with our second episode, and today I'm going to be asking Amanda about her coaching journey and all about coaching.
Thanks, Jasmine. That's really good to know. So I'm in the hot seat this week. So yeah, when you're ready, fire away.
So I guess the first question for me would be, what brought you to coaching? What made you decide this is what I need or I'm interested in?
Okay. I think for me, I had kind of approached it in a very, very sort of circuitous way, in as much as I'd had a corporate journey, which was 18 years long. And then I had my own business, which was another 11 years. But during that second period of my career, I think I learned a lot about my own strengths. Certainly you can't hide from them, your strengths and your weaknesses, when you run your own business. It's really impossible to, sort of hide behind anyone else. And so one of the things that I really enjoyed in my business was nurturing the people that worked for me. And it's very challenging working with other people, but actually it's also very, very rewarding if you can harness their potential as well. And I really loved the fact that I could see how the way I behaved towards people inevitably had an impact on them, and then they were able to sort of change the way they were. And that was just, for me, it was intoxicating, if I'm honest, because you can realise how powerful the relationship can be. And so that led me to about 3 years ago explore the whole notion of coaching and what that would mean for me as a person. And so I put my business on the market about 18 months before it sold, and in that time I kind of researched what I was going to do, and I got myself a coach, which is always a good start. And she kind of sort of nurtured my journey as well. And yeah, it was really, really a lovely way to come into it, because I was sort of leaving one episode of my life and coming into coaching, and I knew that it would be something that I would love doing. And I was right. It's it's absolutely the best career choice for me.
Wow, that's amazing. And when you say you knew, when did you know? Did you know right at the beginning, or?
I think there are certain things in your personality that make you realise what you like doing, or what you're good at. And it's interesting, I've had a lot of personality test results recently, and all of them say you should be a mentor or a coach.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny because when you have your careers due at age 11 or 12, often you sort of all the stats and everything, you add them all up, and you're going to be a policewoman, you're going to be a pilot, whatever. Nobody ever says coach, because when we were growing up, or certainly when I was growing up, it wasn't kind of a career choice, whereas now it's absolutely recommended and recognised as a valuable profession. And so I think I knew that it was the right choice for me, because I kind of thrived in that environment of looking after other people and helping them. But of course, until you're actually professionally trained, you don't see how different that is to what I was doing in my business, which was part coaching, part mentoring, part, suggesting things to people. And I think, a lot of people think coaching is just that, but it's totally not. It's and I wanted to make that point, because I think that's the misconception, is that you've got the sports coach, which absolutely does tell the athlete what to do and how to achieve it and what to eat and so on, whereas us as coaches, that's not our job, is it? And I said to you earlier, I'd like to share a quote I read yesterday on.
Yes, tell us. That's amazing quotes. I think that really sums it up.
It does, because it's a quote which was on the Facebook Kick-Ass Coaches page, and the chap's name is Andy Congielaro. I apologize for my pronunciation there. I just wanted to name check him, because I didn't want anybody to think that this was me sort of stealing the idea. But he writes about coaching. This is his definition, or what he tells people, or anybody who asks him what is coaching. He says, I'm your in-car navigation, you're the driver, you choose the car and the destination, you can get there without me, but I will help you to avoid traffic. And I just love that. I think it just sums it
Yeah,
up, doesn't it?
it does. And it sums it up in simple terms as well.
Mm, yeah. But
Yeah.
I like the fact that, you don't, I think
Mm.
people sort of think that we've got all the solutions. And I think that's, I don't know about you, but certainly I struggled with when I started my coach training, was that I'm a real problem solver. And if somebody's got a problem, I want to solve it for them. I want to fix it. But actually, that's not the job of the coach. The coach isn't there to solve the problems. It's a bit like the whole analogy of, do you give somebody some fish to eat, or do you teach them to fish?
Exactly.
And
I think
so,
that's like the most powerful thing about coaching. Well, for me anyway,
yeah,
realizing, we all have the answers for ourselves. Yeah. And sometimes we just need help with being asked the right question.
yeah, yeah.
So what's difficult about coaching then for you?
I think for me, if I'm honest, self-management can be a difficult one for me, where, like I said, sometimes you will naturally go back into that problem solving issue. You want to help people, and therefore you're just trying to sort of shortcut their pain, if that makes sense. But I think one of the things that coaching has taught me is that you do need to allow people to process that pain before they can move through it and then onwards. And I think that's something that, the training that we got really taught me.
Sorry to interrupt, what is self-management for you? Because some of our viewers might not
That's good,
understand.
actually. It's actually being aware of your own part in the whole process, I suppose. So, for example, we talked straight away, weren't we, about listening to people on level 1, level 2, and level 3, and the whole idea that most people listen to each other at level 1, which is, I'm listening to you now, Jasmine, but I'm waiting for you. If you were listening to me at level 1, you'd be thinking about what you're going to say in reply, and vice versa. So level 2 and level 3 is much more deeper. So there's no thought process in your head about how you're going to respond. You're just simply listening to that person.
Wow.
And that is, honestly, I used to always say that people need to be heard. And that's something I feel very, very strongly about, is that we all need to listen to each other lots more than we do. Purely because, and especially now with the whole sort of Black Lives Matter going on, I think that the stories that are going to come out, now and in the future, will help people to understand just what this sort of prejudice is like for people to live with on a daily basis. And certainly some of the things I've read recently have really opened my eyes. You just can't comprehend as a white person what it's like to have that level of prejudice. And so I think, listening on that level to people and allowing them to speak is important. But I think, like I said, people need to be heard. And I think that's one of the things that I would say is most people look for in a life partner, somebody who will listen to them, and hear what they say. That's so, well, I find that very attractive when somebody's properly listening to you,
Of course. And you feel really good. You feel appreciated, don't you?
Yes, yeah.
I remember actually, my mum actually told me yesterday, she works in like a hostel, and she listens, of course, she talks to everybody in there and she listens to them. And she said yesterday, one of the residents, she was talking to him and listening to him, and at the end he was like, thank you so much for listening. And she said he looked so happy, and my mum said, and it was just listening, she just listened to him, and it really, you could see it really made his day.
Yeah.
And it's like, some people are never listened to ever in their day. They just go about their day and they've got nobody to talk to, nobody listens to them, and you're absolutely right when you say it's huge to give somebody a voice.
And also I think, we were talking about values a bit last week as well. As for me, I think, to be fully present when somebody's talking is really, really important. And one of the things I realised is that I really don't like it when people aren't listening to me properly. And that sounds really arrogant, but I don't mean it like that. I just mean that if I was talking to somebody one-to-one and they were distracted, or, they were looking at their phone, or I'm in an R and as I'm talking,
Yeah, no, I know.
Just it's insulting. It's different if you've
Exactly.
interacted with them, but if they sort of, and I used to interview people and their phone would ring and they would pick the phone up and start a conversation. It was just like unreal, isn't it? You just think, how
Yeah,
do people seriously think that's okay? So
you feel disrespected, don't you?
you do, yeah, yeah. And I think there's two sides, because you might be like chewing off the whole conversation, so that's, you've got to be aware of whether or not you're just sort of like hogging all of the talk time. But if you're not, then I think there should be some balance there between people.
Give and take,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So I guess you've answered, that was my next question, what's important to you? But I guess you kind of answered that question, unless you want to say something else. So listening.
I think, listening is really, really important. I think from my client's perspective, I love it when a client really buys into the whole idea of coaching. So they go with the process, they go with that kind of notion that this could help them enormously. And I think sometimes you see that where that people really sort of want to change, but they just don't know how, and so they kind of like they give their all to it. But the opposite can be true as well, where people think, well, do I really need it? And they don't go into the whole process with the whole the proper attitude, if you like. So that can be quite challenging. So it's important, I think, if somebody wants to consider coaching, that they really fully sort of embrace the whole process and just give it their all.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Yeah, you're right. It's good to have the right attitude. And so, like, where are you now on your coaching journey?
So I finished the training, obviously, and I did a few extra bits and pieces. Every shiny new object I could see, I kind of picked up along the way, which is very dangerous when you're starting out as a new business. And I know that from my previous experience as well. But I'm a lifelong learner, so I just can't resist a new course or a new book. So I'm now niched down into business coaching, which is quite natural for me, having been a business owner myself for 11 years.
Yeah.
And so I naturally help business owners who want to kind of avoid stress and overwhelm, which sometimes can go hand in hand with running a business. It's almost a kind of an unspoken rule that if you're going to be an entrepreneur or a business owner, whatever you call it, then you just got to expect it as part of it. And I kind of want to rebut that whole assumption, because I think actually there are different ways you can run your business. And I use lots of different mindset strategies, as well as the coaching tools. And, like we've sort of discussed, some spiritual practices as well, to kind of just lessen the effect of the things that can damage you when you're trying to do something for yourself. And I guess really they talk in sort of commercial terms about your ideal client. I think my ideal client is probably me, sort of 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's funny that. Yeah.
Because it's like I've got that deep empathy for anybody who's starting out, but actually is overwhelmed, and just there's so much going on. There's so many plates to spin, and it's exciting, but it's also is frightening as well, and there's an awful lot of fear and anxiety that people experience, which is completely unnecessary, I think. So those are the kind of people that I sort of seek out, and they're not always the people I help, but those are the ones where I feel that I can make the most difference for. So
and so how has coaching helped you?
Oh wow. I think it's been very good in making me very self-aware, and I always thought I was really self-aware, and that's the big thing. You talk yourself into a story. I think that I did. I thought I was very self-aware, and I actually realised along the journey I had with my coach for about 16 months that there were certain things that I was doing that was really playing into I was playing a role for certain people in my family, and that was actually causing me the grief that I was feeling about, you know, different things in the relationships, which is really quite interesting. I
Wow.
would never have seen that for myself. I would never have,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you need somebody to have this like meta view of your life for you and be able to sort of say, well, have you not thought that that connects with that, you know, and have you given that any thought? And it's like, yeah, it's been life-changing in that respect, because it's enabled me to stop behaving in certain ways which don't serve me well. But it's also made me a better coach as well, because you kind of, like you say about the listening skills and, you know, asking the best questions and just really focusing on the person and not, you know, not their topic and what they're talking about, but, you know, them and what you want for them as a person.
Exactly. And you can use it on yourself. That's the thing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be the hardest bit, though, I think, is, you know, and I mean, I'm the worst for this, I think, is that I can give out the advice, or I can give out the, you know, the tips and whatever, but you know, sometimes I take longer to kind of embrace them myself, you know. And case in point was this week taking the day off, because, you know, I haven't had a day off in months, and that's the first thing I say to my clients is, when did you last take a holiday? When did you last take any time off? You know, so
Yeah.
I need to kind of like take some of my own medicine, really. That's, yeah. I shouldn't really say
Yeah.
it, but that's truth, you know. We're human.
No, I know. Yeah, completely. No, I understand. Yeah. No, that's really very interesting. Well, that's all of my questions anyway for
Yeah, well, it's
today.
about time to wrap up, I suppose, anyway. So yeah. So yeah, so what we're going to talk about next week, we haven't even decided, have we? It's all going to be very fluid, I think.
It'll be a surprise, yeah.
I
Something
think
about
it'll be on the coaching spectrum, won't it? It'll be just
yes.
talking about things that we deal with. So, you know, maybe we'll talk about sort of self-management or something along those lines, or you know, a sort of juicy coaching topic. But we can make
Yeah, it'll definitely be juicy. It will definitely be juicy.
Right. Well, I'm going to sign off then, and yeah, we will see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week, and click on the link below.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, like and share if you like the video. Yeah, definitely. You know, like and share. That's brilliant. Okay. Bye bye.
Great. Bye-bye. Bye.